Everyone remembers the name Kedon Slovis. In 2019, JT Daniels went down with a knee injury, which would sideline him for the remainder of the season. Kedon Slovis was a little-known 3-star recruit, but if you didn't know him after that game, you knew him a couple weeks later. Slovis went on to have a historic freshman campaign for the USC Trojans, looked like the next great West Coast quarterback, was a potential #1 overall pick, and the sky was seemingly the limit for him. 2020 unfortunately was a little bit of a downturn for him, and then 2021 was very inconsistent. After his great year, people had started to forget about him. Instead of the draft hype for Slovis, there was hype for another guy across the country in Pittsburgh. After patiently waiting for his time, Kenny Pickett blew up in 2021, became a Heisman finalist as a likely first-round pick, and will go down as one of the best quarterbacks over the last few years. The situations were supposed to be reversed, but now Slovis has an opportunity to change that. He has decided to go to Pittsburgh, where he will look to save his career, save his draft stock, and help the Pittsburgh program. But there's one problem. In today's video, I'm going to talk about who Kedon Slovis is, how he fits with Pittsburgh, my thoughts on the transfer, and the one problem that could lead to complete disaster for Slovis. But before we can talk about that, nearly 80% of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, and I know we can do a lot better than that, so quickly be sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for the algorithm, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's talk about Kedon Slovis to Pittsburgh. Kedon Slovis is from the state of Arizona and always took a liking to the quarterback spot. Eventually, when he got to Desert Mountain High School, he was expected to be good, but not future USC quarterback good. By the time he was a senior, his recruitment had been pretty light, but after a couple of good games, he started to blow up, and a USC coach went out and saw him throw and decided they would give him an offer. Clay Helton approved, and they would take a flyer on a kid by the name of Kedon Slovis. They already had guys like JT Daniels and Bryce Young committed, so why on earth would they need him? Well, the 3-star prospect would make everyone pay for not recruiting him. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 3-star, the number 26 pro-style quarterback, and the 705th best player in the class of 2019. He would come in and beat out Jack Sears to become the backup, and was right behind Daniels waiting for an opportunity. Not many people, even USC fans, really knew who he was, but he would quickly change that narrative. He threw for 3,502 yards, 30 touchdowns, and only 9 picks, with a 72% completion percentage, and he broke numerous USC freshman records. When you take a look at that game log, after Daniels went down, he finished that Fresno State game 6 of 8 for 57 yards and an interception. That would be his worst game of the year for obvious reasons. He threw for 3 touchdowns in their win over number 23 Stanford, and then in a loss to BYU, he threw 2 scores and 3 interceptions. This was a rude wake-up call for the freshman, but then he got it together. He threw for 2 touchdowns in a close loss to Notre Dame, threw 4 touchdowns in a win over Colorado, and 3 touchdowns in a loss to Oregon. To finish out the year, he threw for 4 touchdowns against Arizona State, 4 on the road against Cal, and 4 at home against UCLA. The guy finished 15 touchdowns in his last 3 regular season games, and then had 2 more in their loss in the Holiday Bowl. As a sophomore, there was a lot of hype. He was named the best quarterback in the Pac-12. People thought he was the next great USC quarterback, and if he could continue strong throughout his next 2 years, he could maybe even be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Well, he had a sophomore slump. Yeah, there were some other issues going on in the world at the time, but Slovis' play was not anything special. In week 1, they barely beat Arizona State, and in that game, he did have nearly 400 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. In a close win over Arizona, he threw for 1 touchdown, and in a win over Utah, he had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, they were winning games, but he was not playing at the same level he did last year. He did for 2 weeks, though. Against Washington State, he threw for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and then against UCLA on the road, he threw for 5 touchdowns and 2 picks. He had led USC to a 5-0 record, but 4 out of these 5 games were close, and he was just not playing at an elite level. He finished the year on a bad note, though, as against Oregon in the Pac-12 Championship, he threw for only 2 touchdowns compared to 3 picks. This is when the numbers started to drop. He only finished with 1,921 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. In 2021, he only passed for 2,153 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He also had negative 36 yards rushing, and his completion percentage was the worst of his career. His best game came against Colorado, where he had 3 touchdowns, but outside of that, he was not very good. He didn't throw scores in 3 of his games, and had interceptions in all but 2. It was a disaster of a year, and with the emergence of Jackson Dart and them bringing in Lincoln Riley, Slovis knew it was time to move on. Thankfully, Pittsburgh would need a new quarterback. As we all know, Kenny Pickett blossomed into a superstar and led Pitt to its best season in recent memory, and with him going on to the NFL and exhausting his eligibility, they would need a new guy. Apparently, Pittsburgh wanted him, and he was the #1 option for them in the transfer portal, and they went out and got him. Head coach Pat Narduzzi had this to say, quote, "We knew after we didn't take a freshman quarterback that we would take a transfer. We were looking for the best player available. We hunted and we searched, and we had some good guys in the bucket. Thankfully, we were able to land our #1 guy that we wanted in Kedon, so we're excited to have him. The type of person he is, he will fit in our building and fit in that room. That's the most important thing. He played at a high level, he has a great arm, has great pocket presence, and I think he's a leader. I think we can get even more out of him, and there were things he was looking for that he found here. He's just looking for development, and I think that's something we can give him. Unfortunately, while I do like the transfer, I think there is a potential problem with this that no one is talking about. Kenny Pickett was not good for the last few years. He was your average starter, but he never seemingly put it all together, and everyone's going to forget those first 4 years of his career and only talk about the last one. Who was the main factor and how Pickett got so good? It was his offensive coordinator named Mark Whipple. Whipple got the absolute most out of Pickett, developed him into an NFL player, and also seemingly put him in a scheme where he could best use his skill set. The good news is Whipple is there, right? No. He actually left for Nebraska after the ACC championship game, so Pittsburgh will have to find a new offensive coordinator. If you look over the last few years, Pittsburgh's not exactly had the best quarterbacks, and outside of Nathan Peterman, I can't remember the last time they even had a big name guy there. If history repeats itself, they're likely not going to strike gold again, and Slovis may not play as well as people think. Everyone always says that the successor is going to be better than the predecessor, and in this case, Slovis may even have more potential than Pickett did, but I'm a little bit worried that it's not going to come to fruition. Combining that with the fact that he has been on the downfall the last 2 years, and his decision making has seemingly gotten worse, maybe it's not as good as we think. But Scott, don't be negative here. I'm definitely not trying to be super negative, but I am a little bit worried about the expectations being way too high on Slovis and Pitt next year. I just want people to cool the jets and let's see what happens. Thankfully for him, he will have the Blitnikoff winner in Jordan Addison as a wide receiver, and that is going to help him and may even bail him out at times. I'm a big fan of Kedon Slovis, and I really love Pickett and the rise of Pitt football this year, so I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on him, the program, and everything going on. Don't be surprised if Nick Patty gets an opportunity to play, or if Slovis isn't as good as you think though. Either way, I don't want to be a pessimist, so I'm looking forward to him, and I hope he finds great success next year, because having Pitt be good over Clemson is something that most people will take any day. What do you guys think though? How do you think Kedon Slovis will fit at Pittsburgh? Will it be good or bad? And what's another topic or transfer quarterback I could take a look at in my next video? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section, smash that like button for the algorithm, subscribe if you're new here, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.